Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 100th episode of Solid Saturday. Wow, I can't believe we completed the century, and I'm really very glad to welcome our very creative guest on this particular 100th episode, John Fox, the person to champion the art of lighting so that others can achieve and thrive. History of John Michael Fox is humbled with a wide berth of creative experience in the lighting industry. He has been granted opportunities to be a part of award winning projects across the globe. John and his talented team have helped design projects in hospitality, healthcare, retail, homes, and much more. Science, John integrates his knowledge of wellness, human centric lighting, and sustainable design into his architectural and fixture development projects. He uses his degree in architectural engineering to bridge the communication between the electrical engineers and the designers. His knowledge in pricing, controls, LED technology, and color helps his clients create beautiful projects that achieve their design goals. Clients, he wants to make sure that the lighting solution is a perfect fit for the budget and the end users are 100% satisfied. He will always go above and beyond to make sure the client is happy with the result. So specific qualities associated with the John: 30 plus years of commended performance in lighting, enjoys product development and finding new ways to do things, focus on goals of others so they can be successful, applies his history of dance, industrial design, and theater into his work. Very interesting profile, and I can't just wait to welcome him on our Solid Saturday today's episode. So, would you like to join me to welcome him and hear more about his career journey? How did he find his area of interest and managing to lead that? Hello, John. How are you doing today? Very happy to have you on the show. It is our
Fantastic.
it's our
Thank you.
century episode, 100th episode. So
100?
yeah, 100th episode of Solid Saturday, and I'm really very excited because we got somebody who is like a lot more creative person and would love to learn more about architectural engineering. So thank you so much for all your time.
No problem. My pleasure.
So to begin with, we have our generic segment just to make an audience aware how one can find their passion or the interest. So to begin with, the question is, how did you find your areas of interest in the architectural engineering, and that too specifically you landed in the lighting space? So what motivates you to be where you are today?
Well, and that's a interesting question because when I first started looking for a career in my life, I always wanted to be associated with the ocean. So I wanted to be an oceanographer. And so I was like, but I lived in Kansas. And so my parents said, can you go to someplace a little closer to home? Maybe get a little something, local college or whatever. And I said, sure, whatever. I mean, I know I'm not going to be able to go to any school I want. And, but they said, okay, what's your interests? And I said, well, I like art. I like to draw. I'm very creative.
Mm-hmm.
I built my own car by the time I was graduating from high school. And I'm very much an engineer. I've got some engineering technical elements to it. I'm a pilot. And I like to build things and understand the elements of the way things work. And they said, well, what about an architect? And I said, it sounds a little too one way. And they said, well, there's this program called architectural engineering, and there's about 5 of those programs nationwide. There's one in California. There's a couple in California. Colorado's got one. KU's got one. There's a couple in Texas, and then on the East Coast. And so Penn State. And so way to go to Penn State and Rock Chalk Jayhawks. So So anyway, those architectural engineering programs is a blend of art and science. And what you're able to do is just say, it's a little bit of the STEM field, but at the same time, it's got that element of creativity and sort of this built world. And so as we went through the program, you actually had to start to specialize in one of those programs. And the one that was most interesting to me was lighting. I was working at the theater at the time, and so lighting is really about about painting. And so I really wanted to paint and use that as a form of creativity. And so architectural engineering with emphasis in lighting is what it became. But when I came into the industry, what I actually found out was that there was lots of ways to to get into lighting in the industry. And we talk about the industry as a whole. There's a lot of elements. There's the sales element. There's the manufacturing element. There's the constructability element where you're in construction. So there's a lot of ways to get into lighting, and you'll see people that are from the theater backgrounds. You're going to see people that are architects that have decided that, what, I really want to do more kinds of different work, and lighting seems to be interesting to me. And there's a real lot of reasons I think that there's a benefit to finding this industry, and I think it's kind of hard to find. So.
Wow, that's great actually. And it's really definitely like, the way you mentioned that it started with somebody said, and then you just started exploring it. So this is quite interesting to learn how you found your interest in it. And moving towards our next segment, it is more about questions from the audience. And the first question that we have is, would you like to share an experience in which conferring with a client helped you to effectively meet his or her expectations? What factors do you consider when meeting with the clients, for example, budget?
That's a tough question. Budget is it's always something it's important, and yet the really requirement for any consultant is to provide the client with what they need, and in a format that works. And so oftentimes the budget sort of is not critical path. It's really spending time with the client so that they understand or you understand what they need. And so there's a lot of, and I'll give you an example when you talk about residential lighting. So when you talk about residential lighting, and we do lots of schools, and we do churches, and we do hospitality. We mostly our work is in hospitality market, but let's say you're doing somebody's home. There's going to be a lot of ways that people use their homes that you're not going to know until you spend time with them. And and you may spend some time going through them and saying, okay, so when we're going to build this room, or we're going to build this house, what are you going to put in it? How are you going to use it? And what you might find out is that they have a collection of art that they've collected over the years that's street art from LA, or they've collected stuff from Montreal, or they're a painter themselves. And you want to get to know how they use their home, and they want to where their art's going to be, and how much time do they spend during the day. And so actually this wellness concert, the wellness conference that's coming up for CEDIA, CEDIA. We talk about this a lot in our podcast. So maybe if, some of your listeners can lock into this show and watch it. We talk a little bit about the how to meet the customer's expectations, because I could fill hours and hours of this, because you really have to get to know the customer a lot. And I think the budget really is a it's a framework, because we can build within anything, right? I mean, if you say my budget from a design is we have $1,000 for you, it's like, well, I can do $1,000 worth of work, but I also have homes that my fee is six figures, because we spend so much time and energy on it. So it's really, budget is really not the critical path. It's really understanding what their needs are, and being a good steward of the money that they're willing to give to us.
Yep. And I think it a lot more goes like, it's said, right, creative things are priceless actually. So if you have to bound it with the money, it's a little harder that way. But definitely the approach would be understanding the client needs and coming up with
and a big part is that's trust, right? I mean, you have the customer has to trust you. And if you have to, they're going to trust you with their money, but they're also trusting you with how they're going to use that space, right? It's not even, you could be a good steward of the money and do a poor job
and it is
of
more
a design
like,
or solution.
Yeah. So maybe it is more like making them visualize also, right? That also goes a lot more, I guess, because as a creative person, you can visualize it, like, how your home is going to look like architecture is going to look like, or you understand particular things about it.
Some people are more visual or not,
Yeah.
Like, you're right.
Yeah,
That's
so the
exactly
client
right.
is more or like in the mode of comparison, right? Oh, they made like this, and we would like to have something similar in our house or something like that. So like
Yeah,
use
I mean that's actually a
like
great.
it.
They use
Yeah.
our customers use Pinterest. They'll use Facebook images. They'll pull out various things where they'll bring out a video or a magazine. So there's lots of inspirational elements that they do. But for us, we're just when we talk about lighting,
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole technical element to lighting that isn't just what you see, right? You can talk about the materials. I want wood here and plastic here and tile on the floor and a chandelier over here. But from a lighting perspective, there's controls, there's color, there's what we call CRI, which is color rendering index. There's now there's much more color control, so you can go and change the color throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
Make it blue and so there's lots of things that are elements that are complicated that make it worthwhile to be technical and at the same time creative, because there's that you've got those two sides of the brain. The left side is the left side over here is very much a
Mm-hmm.
the creative portion of it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body, and the right side of the brain
Yeah.
controls the left side of the body. So
Yep.
so
Yes, and that makes sense. And thank you so much for sharing. One more question that we have is, what are the requirements to be a lighting designer? What makes a good lighting designer?
So I used to live overseas. I lived in Southeast Asia for a number of years, and I worked with lighting designers that had a background in architecture and drafting, and they learned by doing. And Elon Musk even said, you don't even need an education anymore. You can get education on YouTube. You're a prime example of that, right? You're a prime example. So this is a good example of what is the requirements of being a lighting designer. I would say you just like anything, you want to have interest in it. A passion for
Mm-hmm.
the value of something that most people don't really see. It's really hard for them to say. In fact, I was just talking to one of my clients last night. He had a wonderful client,
Mm-hmm.
big home, and she's like, "We're gonna move. We're gonna move our house over. We're gonna buy a track home, and I want you to do the design for that." He was an interior designer,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes, "Where do you live?" And he types it in, and he's like, "That's you live like on a 5-acre estate." And she's like, "Yeah, it's a huge home. I've got like 10,000 square feet, but we just don't like it here." And
Mm-hmm.
so he goes, "I think I want to come see you. I want to come to your house." And so he went over to her house and got to know her. Like, this whole thing about getting to know your customer, right? And she's a photographer. She's actually a famous photographer.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Where do you live? Where do you spend your room in the house?" And so he's found out that they spend the time of the house inside the house is in the first 3 rooms facing the outside. So literally the front 3 rooms, like the den, the kitchen, and it's all glass. It's all glazed. And he said, "I don't think you need to move."
Mm-hmm.
And he gave up a huge fee and a huge project to do this. He goes, "I think we just need to redo your house." And they talked about it, and she sent him a letter, and he kept that. And it said, "I want to thank you for what was a revelation for me. As a photographer, I know about light, but I never paid attention to my own built environment, my own world. And all of a sudden, you're pointing out that maybe, just maybe, it's the lighting in my own house." And so he fixed all the lighting. He fixed all these little situations, made the house light and bright, solved all the things. She's like, "I don't need to move." And so what a great example of someone paying attention to the customer, but also at the same time recognizing that, there's a budget. He had a big budget, but he didn't have to spend it. He just had to find the right answer for her. So I think that's an important element. And I think, having that passion to do those kinds of right things for the customers is all you really need to be a lighting designer. The rest of it you can learn on YouTube. Maybe not that much, but
Yeah, that's true. A lot of learnings happen online as well as connecting to the people, actually, when you talk to the people and understand them. you learn a lot more as well in the real. So this is like a new era of learning, I guess. It's not like everything you have to get spoon fed. It's a lot more that you learn passively as well by interacting with the people and learning from their journeys. And that is our motto actually through this Solid Saturday, to give the next generation an idea that, how they can explore and grow their career further. So thank you so much for sharing. And we're
No
moving
problem.
towards our next segment, which is a little more about fun or the relaxation segment. And here I'm going to give you like a 3 keywords which are more or associated with your profile or the career. And you have to just tell me whatever comes to your mind. So it can be an abstract definition, it can be a replacement keyword, or it can be like something creative, as you are a creative person. After hearing all those 3 words, if you think about something creative, you can come up with that as well, and we are happy to hear that. So are you ready?
I'll try. I'll do my best.
So the first keyword that we have is architects.
The source, the it's the kernel of everything. So
Mm-hmm.
is that, I don't know if that, am I doing this? Am I playing this right? I have no idea. So I mean, am I supposed to come up with just one word or a lot of
No, you
words?
can come up with like a definition or couple of things that comes to your mind, like
Oh, okay.
define it. Yeah.
Uh, the architect is the source of all things that need to be done. So you have to, as a lighting consultant, they're your primary client.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to help them do their job, and you have to be as good as they are at what they do as what you are, as what you do. So you have to meet the requirements of the design team, and you always should try to be the expert in the field. Like, I always say, no one should be in the room should know more about lighting than I should. And the
Mm-hmm.
architect's the same way. So he should know more about architecture than anything else, than anybody else in the room. But they are the source. I mean, you have to have good architects to have good anything, right? And without a good architect, you're not going to have good lighting, because it doesn't really matter. I mean, lighting's built within the architecture.
Yeah. That is definitely like, pretty interesting, because as you mentioned, it is kind of a source. So yeah.
The
And
kernel.
yeah. And the second word that we have is dance.
Dance. Uh, freedom.
Wow, this is a very good one. Yeah.
So yeah, there, you know, you read my profile. I basically minored in dance when I was in college, and it was a way of expression that was really, really interesting. In fact, one of my first lighting
Mm-hmm.
people I was able to work with was a lighting designer that his whole history of lighting was
Mm-hmm.
working with the dance communities. So he
Mm-hmm.
actually traveled with these dance troupes across the
Mm-hmm.
country, and that's what he did for lighting design, was lighting dancers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally like shaping. It was literally like being a mold, or like a sculptor. And so dance is moving sculptures, and I think that's a great
Wow.
way to say it. It's moving sculpture. And
I think only
when you
architect
see
can see that way.
when
Yeah.
you see design, which is a similar, I mean, I would say the same word when it comes to being a dancer, but a cinematographer, a
Mm-hmm.
person who creates, not what is the person who creates dance? The He's not a dancer, but I forget the term, but the person who creates a design is no different than a sculptor. He's just working with humans and movement.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, okay. Sounds great. And then the third keyword that we have is history.
it's important. From a lighting perspective, it's interesting because we've almost reached a whole circle when it comes to technology. And right now, a big part of the podcast today was about the fact that we live in I don't know if you realize this, but we've only been in artificial illuminations, a place where we have lights inside buildings, for 100 years, just over 100 years, like 120 years. And we've been on this planet for thousands, if not millennia, right? So what are we doing to our bodies in the sense that, we've gone from incandescent to halogen to fluorescent lights, which was horrible for you, to metal halide and high pressure sodium, and then finally to compact fluorescent, and then to LEDs. All of those technologies between those were horrible for you. They had horrible flicker. They had, gave people headaches. You looked horrible underneath them. The elements of the light was horrible. Couldn't have any control. The ingredients of the light were made out of crazy things, and it was actually bad for the environment. We had mercury, which is you shouldn't have mercury around you, and we have mercury hanging in our ceilings all around us. So for years, this was a negative thing. So the history of lighting has led back us to going back to natural light, back to the way we're trying to mimic in using artificial light. We're trying to mimic the light that we have had since we were cave people. So I think it's one of those things where I think that the evolution, understanding the history of light has been really good for my career. Wow. And understanding that we really actually need to get back to where we were. How can we best do that? So.
Yeah, but that is true actually. When we think about the energy, right, that we should come up with some more solutions. I think there are a couple of lights nowadays that save the energy, right? It's not always you're wasting the electrical energy or something like that.
Yeah, and LEDs are definitely there. I mean, we're not going to get a whole bunch more energy efficient with LED technology. They have to come up with something else to be even more efficient. So it's not an energy issue. In fact, I'm an anti-energy saving person when it comes to lighting.
Yeah.
I'll stand on a soapbox and talk about it all day long. We actually don't have enough light in our built world during the day than you could possibly imagine. We are way underlit for our health, extremely underlit for our health. So anyway, that's another subject.
Yeah, that's true. And next segment that we have is little bit knowing you. So exploring your career, work, or volunteering. And we found quite interesting volunteering experience that you have. So would you like to share more about your volunteering experience with Illuminating Engineering Society of North America, and what is it about?
Sure. So, if you're in any industry, you have societies or groups or efforts to sort of standardize things and to create, fraternity for the people in that industry and make connections and networking and all of those things. So the Illuminating Engineering Society is actually not just of North America. Although I am the member of North America, it's actually a worldwide society, and the president, I think right now might even be from Brazil. I can't remember. So it's an international community, and what we do is we write the standards for everything that is associated with light. I don't care if it's for greenhouses or for plants or for a specific kind of plant, or for understanding about the eye health. Or it's for how to do a school, or how to do roadways, or how to do cars, or if it is something to do with light, there is somebody in the IES working on trying to create and get the best knowledge from the best scientists, from the best PhDs, from the best designers, to build a network of information that you can use, whether it's architects or interior designers, and they can pull out portions of this mass database and say, okay, how would we do a hotel, for example, right? And so they can pull up the design guidelines 25 DG 25 and say, okay, how should I be looking at the lobby? What are the important elements of doing a lobby? And so there'll be a section on lobbies. Literally anything you can think of when it comes to lighting, there will be somebody has written something about it, tried to create a standard, and try to use it as an education tool for somebody else. And so I'm really active on the hospitality, because I do a lot of hotels. So I'm active in the hospitality. I'm semi-active in the residential, but I'm also on the design standards. So trying to create standards for lighting designers and things like that. So I'm a really busy guy, and it's really hard to do the work for free kind of thing. But it's something about having 30 years of experience doing this that I feel like. So it's that, as you get towards the end of your career, which I hate to say that I'm that rare, but I feel like I need to be giving back to the industry. So that's my job, is to make sure that the next generation has the information and the experiences that I've had. And so that's what donating your time and volunteering for the IES is that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow, that's
and there's
great.
a great
And if
group
somebody
of people
wants
there.
to join that volunteering group, is it like a easy like application process, or how is it?
There's no application at all. I mean, if you're interested in lighting, you can go in there and volunteer your time. So you're gonna see ways to use the IES. Whether if you wanted to get into lighting, the first thing you would do if you were new to the industry is join IES, because there's actually programs in there. We call they're called emerging professionals, and so we have an emerging professionals program. So you can get connected to all these companies that are interested in hiring people that are interested in lighting. It's a very small industry to find. It's very hard to find people, but it's also sort of a niche industry. So how do you know how to get into lighting, right? So the IES is a great avenue into that.
Wow.
Join it, get an emergency, become an emerging professional.
Yeah.
So.
That's a great advice and the tip as well, because volunteering is the best part if you are interested in any specific field. It's more or like a job shadowing as well. You get that opportunity to see the person actually what they are working on, and understand the area on the broader aspect of it. So on that advice, actually, we are moving towards our next segment, which is more about summarizing more tips or advice to the students or the professionals who are trying to build their career in this particular field, or looking this as a long-term career option. So you can support your answer with your books and courses as well. So would you like to give any particular advice to the students?
Actually, I think we kind of just touched on it with the IES, but there's other, depending on your neighborhood, where you're at, there's actually local chapters. So there's the IES chapter of Orange County, which is where I'm in. There's the IES chapter of Los Angeles. There's the IES chapter of Detroit. And if you wanted to be in lighting, all you have to do is say, "Hey, I'm a new student. I'm interested in lighting," and they're just going to grab you. They'll say, "I've got 3 jobs for you. Which one do you want?" And it's just crazy how it's like people that are in lighting don't understand why people aren't in lighting. They're like, "Why don't you want to do this? This is so much fun." And the other thing we talk about in the industry is, once you go into the industry of lighting, you can't get out. It's like the mob. You're done. Because there's always opportunities in that industry to find the right fit for you. And you may get in one part of the industry and say, "You know what, I'm not into this portion of it, but you know what, I really like this part of it." And there's going to be positions for that. And everybody's always looking for people for in the lighting industry. It's a constant battle to find people. So
wow,
I'm looking for people. So
yeah, and these are some of the practical ways we are always trying to figure out through the Solid Saturday. Actually, what would be the best approach to get into that particular field and learn more about that field. And I think you have provided quite an insight to it, that how it is useful when you look for the volunteering opportunities, or joining some kind of a community, and build your career in a particular space. So thank you so much for sharing it. And that was definitely very, very insightful. We are moving towards the closure, which is more about leadership. And the way you are talking about your space or areas of expertise, I can truly see the leader in you. So what is your leadership style, and any specific leader that you always follow or admire, and why?
Leaders that I admire. Oh, I've got lots of people that I admire on social medias, but I don't know that. I mean,
no, we are fine.
There's
yeah.
I mean, it's just one of those things where my dad was a military leader. He was in charge of like 300 soldiers and building wargaming. And when I was a kid, he's now retired. And I've had some good leaders that I've worked for in the past. It's been few and far between, and I think one of the reasons is that it's a skill set that you have to work on, and you can't just be a good, at what you do. Let's say you're a good lighting designer. You can't be just a good lighting designer or a good manufacturer and also be a good leader. You have to work on that. It's just like any other muscle. And I think the leadership skills for me have been, once I've started to learn how to be mentored, because I actually didn't have any mentors going through my career. And so once I started to seek out my own mentors for my success, I developed a team I called my board of advisors. Once I developed those board of advisors, it really helped build my leadership skill in ways that I didn't expect. And one of the things I felt like I learned in that process was that it was hard for me to let go, because I was always doing all the little things. And I felt like I was, and I think people would probably use the term micromanaging. And once I learned, and as I got older, I think it was also because I got older and had kids, and I learned that you can't really micromanage kids.
Yeah.
But you have to, the leadership that I try to follow is finding people that are good at what they do and get out of their way and really find a way for them to be successul. And wow. I think that's really hard to do because, I think Elon Musk even said, it was, find somebody that you want to hire and then don't tell them how to do their job, right?
Yes.
Let them do their job. And so,
yeah,
I think micromanaging was something I had to learn to not do. And, I think that my leadership skill is about, being a cheerleader for everybody. And then, just, also being probably a police officer to a certain extent where you're solving problems with the team. So I think, my goal is always to try to figure out what everyone's goals are and let them and try to help them to achieve that. So it's a daily challenge, and it's a whole other challenge. I'm not really a lighting designer anymore in that sense, because I'm really a people person. Wow. I'm really managing people. So it's really, when I get to do lighting, it's kind of fun. But again, I've got 30 years in this world, so in this lighting industry. So I'm happy to help bring the next generation along. So
wow, that's great actually. And I would encourage people who are interested in this particular field. We got our coach or the mentor for this particular space. So if you would like to learn more, definitely connect with him. As well as, if there are any social media links, I would definitely encourage, I will put it actually once the episode is out so that people can connect with you.
Sure.
I tag so that many more people can connect, whoever is looking to build their career or grow in that particular space. So thank you so much, John. Really appreciate all your time and consideration being on the show, and it was pleasure having you on my 100th episode. It was definitely like a celebration time. So thank you so much.
I cannot believe I got to be number 100. That's awesome.
Yeah,
thank you so much. I feel blessed and honored. So thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you, and take care. Bye.
All right. Bye.
All right. So we learned a lot about the creativity as well as the space architectural field. And to close our today's episode, we have a closure quote from Norman Foster, which is around architectural and design. So as an architect, you design for the present with an awareness of the past for a future which is essentially unknown. So on that quote, we are closing today's episode. See you guys in the next episode. Until we meet, happy leading. Let's lead together. Stay safe. Bye for now.